anybody.
It's just entertainment purpose.
It's
It's entertainment purpose.
It's not
in
meant to be in the case of
This
anybody.
is just entertainment purpose.
It's not in.
Hi, hotties, kettles, tea stirs. You're here for hot tea. All commentary is alleged, and in my opinion, this is for entertainment purposes only. Before we get into this video, I want to give a shout out to everyone that has been sending me cash apps. I kind of don't even be paying attention to my other phone that gets the cash apps. So you guys send me cash apps and I don't catch it until literally days afterwards. So thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone that has always sent cash apps. I really do appreciate it. Just to name a few, thank you, Miss Latrell, Miss Jones, Miss Kelly, Patrice, Elitra, Krista, Miss Vernica, Shonda. It's a lot of y'all. Thank you, Octavia. Thank you, Kendria. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Tawana. Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Victoria, Braylon, Tiffany, Liz. I can literally go on. Thank you, Missy Yvette. Thank you, CC Star. So thank y'all for supporting me. I just wanted to say some of you all's names and really let you guys know that I do appreciate you all. It does take me a minute to see everything, but I will check my phone more often, I promise. Okay, now that we got that out the way, you guys, let's get into this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the post notification bell so you are updated each and every time that I upload, and you can be up to date with all of the latest Love and Marriage Huntsville drama. So Carlos did an interview with Dustin, and I really like Dustin. I have been trying to find some of his social media tags, but I can't find any of his socials. So that leads me to believe, Dustin just probably do his own thing. Maybe he was in the media before, but not that much now. I don't know. Can't really find any of his socials because I do like him so much so I wanted to follow him on Instagram. So I clipped only the important parts of this interview. If you want to catch the whole interview, you can head over to Carlos King YouTube channel. He posted the whole interview there. It's about an hour long. We're only going to be reviewing about 7 minutes of it over here. A lot of times it's hard for me to watch Carlos's interviews because he just always laughing and cackling like a big ass child. It's so annoying. Every single question, it has to end with the cackle or laugh, or he is really aggravating to me. And part of the reason that makes me really dislike him more, because I don't know him, obviously. I just don't like what he's presenting to us, like the character that he is showing and the people that he support and the people that he don't support aligns with who he really is as a person. So the fact that he aligns himself with Walkie Talkie the way that he does is very concerning. Not only that, but he genuinely finds humor out of torturing Black women, in my opinion. Now, you guys might think, oh, that's a stretch, that's a reach. It's not torture. I'm sorry, continuing to put Black women in traumatic situations is trauma and it's torture. But one thing that really is very clear as day to me when it comes to our community is Black men. Black men, whether gay or straight, are seemingly always on the same page. And what I mean by that, for whatever reason, it seems to be a big problem in the Black community for other men to hold each other accountable. Women, Black women, we hold each other accountable all day, every day. And actually, we get held accountable by each other, by Black men, by white women, by everybody in the globe. Everybody in the globe can hold a Black woman accountable. But for whatever reason, people, not just the Black community, but people are always, straddling the fence when it comes to holding Black men accountable. And part of me wants to know, why is this such an issue in our community? When Black men do wrong things, nobody is outright calling them out for their bad behaviors. And I really do find that to be disgusting. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I agree with Dustin majority of this interview, but he said something that, in my opinion, it's like, how the hell do you... who told you that? How did you conclude that in your brain that the people do like Martell. We just don't like what he's doing. What Walkie Talkie has shown us is you cannot come back from. The fact that he actually went in an interview and admitted to the Revenge P thing, you don't go back from that. We don't like him as a person. We don't like him as a man. He's not a good person. That's irredeemable. You don't redeem yourself from something like that on national television. Maybe people could like, oh, okay, maybe he can change, but that'll literally take 10 plus years. He's not going to change overnight and in a few days. Realistically, he's not going to be changing in the face of our eyes. So get him the hell off the show. Nothing is productive from seeing Walkie Talkie on national television. So again, Dustin and that's why I say, no matter what, black men, gay or straight, they always are on the same page. I feel like Walkie Talkie should be held accountable for that. You should be like, nobody should be able to co-sign him. Nobody should be able to sit on a platform and say like, oh, well, he's still a good guy. We still want to see more from him. We just want him to tell the truth. We're done with that, right? I thought we were done with that. So when some of y'all suggested that I watch this interview, like, oh, it's going to be a good interview, I do think it was a good interview, but I don't think anything really came about it. We want these men to hold Walkie Talkie accountable, but it seems like none of them are going to do that. No matter how logical one of the men may be, none of them are willing to hold him accountable. And I agree, there should be some type of suspension, at least a temporary suspension if you're not going to outright fire him. Or the network and Carlos should at least address it. Like, oh, we love all our castmates. I don't agree with everything that they do. We do not align ourselves with this. But he just absolutely chooses to say nothing. Do these interviews and Kiki and laugh and still try to, I guess, sway the viewers that Walkie Talkie can be a decent person. And that's really what I find issue with. He's not a decent person. And leaving room for error for an abuser to change his narrative while allowing the victim to get attacked from every which way behind the scenes is so annoying to see. And the fact that they're trying to gaslight us and make it seem as though the bloggers make up all of these things and create all of these issues and make stuff out to be more than what it is so annoying, disheartening. Y'all, it's a lot that I can say about the entire trajectory of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Carlos King is one of those gay, messy-ass black men that just like drama. Like a lot of messy-ass black men like Miss Wanda. And you literally have to ask yourself why. Because there's nothing productive that comes from her. She's not an educated person. She's illiterate as hell. And a lot of the things that she say is outwardly disgusting. And so the fact that people can align themselves with her knowing that she talked ish about a child, but have all this disdain and dislike for Mel, I'm telling you, like I said, you don't necessarily have to like Melody. I don't give a damn about that. But to dislike Melody and align yourself with a woman like Miss Wanda is very telling of your character, no matter who you are, period. And one thing that I realized, they align themselves with the messiest people, thinking that that is some type of entertainment when it's not. I also noticed like a lot of the messy gay men, they don't like strong black women, but literally grovel and cater to messy ass ignorant black women. And for that, y'all have to really pay attention and question certain things that's going on. How is it that majority of them can align themselves with male identified messy ass nasty black women that go out attacking and causing dysfunction, chaos, and confusion, but for whatever reason they always, majority of them, find an issue with the strong black woman that aligns herself with success? Do you get what I'm saying? I want y'all to pay attention to the type of people that align themselves with certain Black women and don't. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's go ahead and break down this clip. I just wanted to go on that rant because y'all seemingly like my rants, and it had a lot to do with a lot of these people's character on YouTube, off YouTube, the castmates, people in real life. So yeah. And also, before we get into the clip, I don't think Dustin is in the category with one of those messy Black men, but he's still a Black man nonetheless, which is the point that I was trying to make. I agree with Dustin, though, majority of the time. He's a very logical person. He makes the most sense out of anyone. And if anything, I would prefer Dustin to do these interviews with the castmates, because he's going to ask real questions that we all want to know and not coddle them. And he's not going to be biased about it. Secondly, it'll be nice for him to host a reunion. I would love for him to host a reunion because he won't be biased in his questioning. So y'all get in the comments and y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the post notification bell so you are up to date each and every time that I upload, and you can be up to date with all of the latest Love and Marriage Huntsville drama.
Martell and Marceau spoke to Tiffany about her conversation with Sheree in regards to her wanting to know how Sheree felt about Melody, whether or not, she's met her. Also asked Sheree, well, you must put the P word down so you're not bothered. And Sheree, surprisingly, didn't pull a wig. So when you saw all that unfold, was Tiffany being messy?
Absolutely. But yes, she was being messy. And by messy, what I mean is that Tiffany was asking Sheree questions that typically, in the lives that most of the viewers lead, the life that I live, we wouldn't ask such direct questions to someone that we're not that familiar with, right? So that I think kind of is what registered as messy in the conversation. Now, when we look at this from a reasonable and logistic, perspective, a logical perspective, she was moving the story of the show forward. What Tiffany was doing was asking the questions that were in the minds of everyone who watched that scene on the episode. These are the questions that we all had for Sheree. Another thing that I think people are missing here is that she wasn't asking a normal, person who is not accustomed to that sort of line of questioning the questions that she asked. She was asking Sheree Whitfield, who is a, 10 plus year deep veteran in the reality television game, who is accustomed to being in tense, high energy situations like that, where you're under a different grilling, you're subjected to a different type of grilling and questioning. So it wasn't as offensive to her as I think some of the viewers naturally would assume that it would be, so I do understand why people are saying it was messy, but listen, that's what we want Tiffany to do. Tiffany is taking up the space of the show that she quite naturally deserves to. She is a second year. Is this Tiffany's second or third year?
Third year.
I had to check myself. This is Tiffany's third year on the show. So her comfort level, I think, is surprising a lot of the viewers because she's kind of busting out of her shell. She's comfortable in her shoes as a cast member, and she is, performing as such. And I welcome it. This is exactly what we had kind of suggested that she do the last time we talked about Tiffany and her relevance to the cast and what kind of moves things along. So I was happy with it.
Was Marceau in the right for the way he approached Tiffany in general?
No. And the reason that he was not in the right was because he wasn't involved. Tiffany's conversation with Sheree had literally nothing to do with Marceau. And once again, Marceau's kind of taking on the role of being overbearing that I think people have identified and attached to him since we were introduced to him in season 1. And he had been doing good for a while and kind of dispelling that, you know what I mean? And not necessarily being overbearing, being outspoken and having the great personality that we love him for, because we do love Marceau in this cast. And he is absolutely a very necessary part of this cast. But he didn't have nothing to do with it. Okay, to put it simply, this had nothing to do with him. So I did think that he was a little bit out of bounds, kind of opining on it in general.
And what about Lewis? So Tiffany, let me tell you something. When they call Tiffany possibly being a Karen,
yeah,
and Tiffany clocked that T saying, it's because I'm half white, you're calling me a Karen, which I thought, say which one about Tiffany, barefoot and pregnant, she catches the shade when it's thrown at her. And
I mean, you know what a Karen is, you know what I mean? And I think that I will give Marceau this credit. He absolutely identified and defined a Karen, perfectly. A Karen is someone who did kind of what he did in the first damn place. Offers your opinion unsolicited on something that has nothing to do with you, the thoughts and feelings and experiences of other people. So Marceau, was kind of in a takes one to know one kind of position. I thought no one better in that scene to call her Karen than Marceau, who was exhibiting the exact behavior that he was vilifying her for. Even having a commentary, on the situation anyway. So I get it. And shout out to Tiffany for being shrewd and keen enough to kind of be able to specifically identify what he really meant by calling her a Karen. Yeah.
Is Marceau a Karen?
Absolutely. Martell Holt, I think, has a problem kind of owning the beginning of all of this story that is connected to him, right?
Mhm.
And Tiffany never would have had that conversation with Sheree if Martell wasn't dating Sheree. He wouldn't have been dating Sheree. Well, we would hope he wouldn't be dating Sheree if he was still married to Melody. He would still be married to Melody if he had not stepped outside of the marriage and produced a child. And sometimes I think he kind of loses that and gets caught in a really just there's really no point to him kind of, I don't know what he's chasing, right? I don't know what it is, because Martell is very aggressively pursuing some sort of shift in the public perception of him, right? And in what people think about him. And I just think he's kind of chasing his own tail and going about it the wrong way, right? Fighting back against these things, fighting back against these very truth-oriented perspectives that people have of him, I think is the wrong thing. Again, we don't believe in goodbyes, only hellos. Martell has opportunity every single day to show up differently in relationships with people in his life and kind of create what his new story is, create what the impression that he leaves with people. He can kind of redefine that. And I think he should take advantage of that opportunity as opposed to kind of trying to dig up things and just shift people's focus and shift people's perspective of him. Just start living well. You know what I mean? As we move forward. And I think everybody, even Melody, I think would have a different perspective of him if he would do that instead of just spiraling back in the depths of all of his mistakes. I think that would be the best thing for him. So he is a cheater. He cheated on Melody multiple times. You know, I love Martell's personality. I love his willingness to participate in the minutia of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I think he's a very fit and formidable cast member on an ensemble reality show. And I think he should focus on his strengths as opposed to trying to defend his weaknesses, because we all, there's an undeniable likability factor there. We all like Martell. That's why we're so disappointed in his choices, right? And I think he should just focus on new opportunities to kind of just fall back into the good graces of the viewers of this show. Because again, spiraling and trying to change people's perspective and rewrite history, you know, this revisionist historian title that he's self-assumed. I think he just needs to stop, full stop, and just start doing better every day.
Oh, that's very interesting you said that, because that's a conversation I had with him when he was on this podcast, in terms of you're not your past. And I think as long as you say, look, I did this, it was bad, I own up to it, I'm hoping to change and become a better person. But I do agree with you that it's up to him to showcase that. And when it comes to him dating Sheree, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you believe him and Sheree are in a relationship or into each other?
I do believe that they're attracted to each other. I do believe that they have an interest in each other. I just think that whatever that interest is kind of up to interpretation per who you ask. I think that everybody has very relevant concerns as far as, if you ain't getting with Sheree, like, what is it? And that's where I want Martell to work a little bit harder in consistency, okay, and in telling the truth here. Because if you tell the truth, you don't have to think about it twice. You just say how you feel. And so I wish he would do that instead of his story changing, which causes the doubt that is causing this bigger conversation as it relates to the authenticity of their connection anyway. So
when Sheree's on Huntsville, you're saying the energy feels different. So I want to ask you this. Do you think that energy is different because in Huntsville, on this show, his ex-wife is still on the show? And do you think there could be some feelings still there?
I think two things can be true at the same time, right? Because I definitely think that there are feelings still there. If nothing else, the feelings that we still see Martell have for Melody could be rooted in ego, because her determination, when God told her to go and she went, okay, that was a death blow to the ego of a man who has presented himself to be what Martell has presented himself to be to us as viewers, right? So we know that if nothing else, his ego wants to win Melody back, or at least her good graces. I think that's why we see him force things on her, like walking her to the car, walking her to the door, asking her to pray, and then having the audacity to get upset when it's not a priority for her in conversation with him. You know, she doesn't owe him anything. She doesn't have to pray to get along with you. And so I think there's his ego just presents itself more than anything. And I definitely think that that's one reason he wants her back. And I don't doubt for one second that he doesn't still love Melody. He absolutely loves Melody and he wants her back. He would love to be in a relationship with her. He didn't want her to leave him in the first place for his mistake. That's the source of his anger and vitriol toward her, is the fact that she left anyway. So I definitely think he still wants to be there with her, but I don't think that the difference in his temperature and his mood and his actions in relationship with Sheree on Love and Marriage Huntsville is rooted in that, because Melody doesn't give a damn what he's doing or who he's dating. So she's not even presenting, and she's not giving him a reason to be evasive or a little bit more subdued in his engagement with Sheree in Huntsville. Yeah, in fact, people are more eager to understand it and embrace the relationship and you know, bring him back into the fold and into the rhythm as a unit with his new partner. No one's stopping him from being fully out with his relationship with Sheree in Huntsville. So I'm not quite sure why he's doing that, other than the fact that he's just not that into it. So again, it just begs the question, is it real in the first damn place? I guess that's where we continue to find ourselves as we orbit this relationship. We just wonder, is it real?
Yeah.
It's just entertainment purpose.
It's not.
It's just entertainment purpose.
It's not.
No.
In the case of
This
anybody.
is just entertainment purpose.
It's not.